Shut your eyes. Stop your ears. What you hear cannot be unheard. What you see cannot be unseen. Words are hooks. Ideas cling. Stories will bed down into the meat of your consciousness, not to be dug out without a gouging of flesh and a letting of blood. What you know cannot be unlearned. Poisonous truths will follow you, pursue you, hunt you down, and one day run you to ground at the unseen hour. Our story begins in a place of contentment, warm, well lit, surrounded by comforts, a blazing fire, deep carpets, welcoming armchairs as two old friends enjoy a digestif after a fine meal, and compete to entertain one another with outlandish tales, tales which for the benefit of some might have been better left untold.
So, you've heard my story, Miss Yakchek, and I can see that it has chilled you to the bone! Surely you have no story to challenge it.
On the contrary, Mr. Kent, I can tell you a tale that will haunt you forever, and a true one at that, if you dare to hear it.
Ha! I'll try to stay awake!
Well, this story was told to me by a one-time resident of the coastal town of Quellmouth. And it begins in that region, in a small, rented cottage where a stranger to the place, a newcomer, a keen-eyed Canadian academic with her treatise tucked under her arm, has been confined alone for many days, but now receives an unusual visitor. You haven't left this house for some weeks now, Miss Prestoon.
Leave? How could I? It's not safe for me out there.
You feel that this house protects you?
Oh, no, not that, Dr. Grick. Nothing can protect me. The house is familiar, but it will come for me all the same.
Something is coming for you.
Exactly right. It sounds absurd, eh? I guess you know I came here to research my book.
Your book, Observations on the Obscure Eccentricities and Esotericisms of Outlying Oceanic Occupancies.
I bet you think my obsession with my work has made me delusional, Doctor.
Or you worry that you sound delusional.
You bet. But let me tell you about the book. It's about local legends, traditions, and beliefs. There's a story about a curse here in Quellmouth, but the details are vague. Victims suffer bad luck, terrible spiritual oppression, and finally, well, I'll come to that. Of course, I wanted to investigate. It seems foolish now. First stop, the town's oldest residents, the parson and her husband. As soon as I mentioned my research, their sagging faces drooped still further. Their eyes stared still more hollow. A chill came into the air.
Oh, the Quellmouth curse! Many a long year since I heard that name.
Oh, no, we do not speak of such things. It's not our way.
Wow, so you know something.
We don't know nothing about no how.
Oh, you're upsetting my poor phlegm. No good will come of this. You foreigners poking around in business that's none of yours.
Let the dead lie. Leave the ghastly forces that hide behind every stone be. Look away. Look away.
You're not welcome here. If you know what's good for you, you'll go away and never come back.
But you didn't leave.
No way. I did what the locals do when they suffer a disappointment. I went to the pub. There I was approached by a peculiar creature in army boots and false eyelashes.
Psst! Oi, lady. Word is you've been poking around asking questions, as I've heard, about the curse.
They talk enough when it suits them. But so what if I am asking questions? Don't I have a right?
Assuredly you do. And I know that someone might answer them.
You do? Great!
Don't you worry, I'll take you to him.
But before the urchin could lead me anywhere, a pallid man at the next table stood bolt upright, his eyes ablaze, speaking as if possessed.
The path that led up to Wanderley House was a mass of unkempt vines and creepers festering in the July sun. It was the morning of the wedding of Lily and Chris, and a beautiful, clear day. Naturally, I was filled with dread. The small pebble-dashed abode had no previous reviews on Airbnb, but being the only option vaguely near the ceremony, needs must, and its tariff at least seemed reasonable. A very sad gnome sat by the doorstep, holding a sign that said, "Welcome," where the E had been abruptly chipped off, making it seem a bit shouty. He had a streak of orangey mud across his right eye, which made him look like a tiny, crap David Bowie. This is not the epitaph that Bowie deserved, I thought. I was greeted by a beady-eyed woman in her 40s, named Dana. "This is the house," she said. "Yes, it's lovely," I lied. We stood in a poky little hallway. I noticed a red rubber ball stirring slightly by the skirting board. I hope the house didn't come with a pet. I hate animals. "Is it just you?" she asked. "It is a double room." "Just me," I replied. I had thought to utilize my +1 to the wedding, but I decided against it. I'd recently tindered about town with a youthful lad who was 2 years my junior, named Milo. He had strong arms and eyelashes like a baby deer, but was, unfortunately, unmistakably dim. He had once referred to a brand of instant coffee as Al Jazeera. I don't think he was joking. In truth, I still yearn for he that I refer to by one letter. My R. An artist. So beautifully fragile. Our trysts had always been at night in the back streets crisscrossing the city, 2 children tripping through a labyrinthine playground, hiding from the sun. And yet my lust for the chase was too strong. I fell into the arms of another, and another, and another, and another pair at the same time, I might add. I had left R crushed, like a trampled flower. "Suit yourself. Your room's here on the ground floor," said Dana, studying me with those bulging eyes. She reminded me of an unwanted peacock at a picnic. "Is there another room above, then?" I asked, indicating the set of stairs directly adjoining my room. They led to a dimly lit door. There had been nothing mentioned about sharing the house. "It's locked," she said. "Storage." There was something odd about that door. On the lower third, I noticed something beneath the handle. Deep scars etched into the wood. They looked like claw marks. No. I bid Dana goodbye and returned to my room, changed into my generic wedding-y outfit. I called a cab and departed, all the while cursing anyone who decides to have their nuptials in the middle of nowhere in Kent. Several hours later, the celebration had been a blur of pastoral pleasantries and bunting. It was vomit-inducing, to say the least. I returned lucidly to my room under the spell of Prosecco and gin and began to compose a suggestive text to my R. As my thumb hovered over the send button, something ricocheted across the ceiling from the room above. Rat-a-tat-tat! The noise repeated. Rat-a-tat-tat. Sounded like someone rolling dice across a Monopoly board. Still clutching the phone, I tentatively left the bedroom and peered up the stairs. The door to the room above was now, most definitely, ajar. What was up there? I ascended the stairs and pushed the door open further. The room was pitch black and I found no light switch. I stepped inside and a peculiar smell hit me. Sweet and sickly like those vines that had been rotting in the sun. Rat-a-tat-tat. Something hit me in the foot. I brought out the torchlight on my phone and shone a beam in front of me. It caught a boarded-up window with wooden planks and on them the same deep scratches. Something had been clawing to get out. The back of my neck prickled. I moved the torchlight down onto a small iron bed. Trussed to either side of the frame, there were chains. I scanned my torch to the end of the bed and then froze. The beam had landed on a face. Deep, sunken eyes stared back at me. A pale little girl was sat cross-legged on the floor. Long, lank hair clung to her cheeks and her lips curled at the edge in a cruel sneer. I felt my mouth go dry. My legs go weak. I wanted to scream or run, but I couldn't move. "Mama said she'd bring me playthings," she said, her voice lilting, sing-song-like. "You broke your toy, didn't you?" I felt a wave of cold sweat as I struggled to comprehend. Behind her, in the bed that had been empty, something began to stir. Up through the sheets, a body arose, naked, fetal, and shaking. It was R. Just how I'd left him. Broken. And then he was gone. Now it's my turn to play. She'd flung something in my direction. Still paralyzed, only moving my eyes, I looked down to my feet. There was a pile of teeth. Human, adult teeth. Suddenly she flew across the room and was on me, her claw-like hands plunging into my mouth and prizing open my jaw. The room began to spin, and then nothing. Just black. I awoke with a start and clutched the bedspread. "Ready to check out?" said Dana, who had knocked on the door. I hurriedly gathered my things and ran for a taxi, shaking off what I assumed had been a gin-fueled nightmare. As I left, my gaze flickered briefly to that door. It was shut, but the scars remained. Soon I was enveloped in familiar pleather seats and the drone of Magic FM. What was this? Pain here in my upper jaw. I ran my tongue round my teeth. Distinct gaps on the right-hand side. The ache began to sear, and with every hour grew worse. To this day it's never left me, and nothing will pacify it. Veneers and dentures fall out of those cursed sockets. The worst is when I try and kiss a lover. I can almost feel tiny white fingers twisting up into my gown, tearing the teeth away. As the cab bore me away, I dared look back at the Wanderley. At least I could find solace in the knowledge that I was going to leave Dana a very, very scathing review.
Here you go. She's waiting for you.
And with that, the imp had vanished. I knocked and entered the darkened tavern bedroom. Hello. Is someone here?
It's dangerous, what you're asking about. They've told you to leave it alone. You should listen to them. I can tell you that firsthand. Go while you still can.
But it's only a story, a wonderful and mysterious story, but still just a story.
Ghosts, curses, monsters, secret societies, clever and malicious flesh and blood murderers. It doesn't matter so very much what you believe. The result is the same.
Are you all right, miss? What's happened? Let me help you.
No, there's nothing you can do. I couldn't ask you.
If nothing else, at least let me listen to your troubles.
I couldn't put that burden on you.
Please, I insist.
Very well. At your request. I was working for an insurance agency, investigating a claim. Mr. Fawkes was always a little eccentric. An academic like you. He was asking questions about the curse, researching it. He became paranoid, or so it seemed, after a meeting with a local tweed-clad fisherman. He was convinced he was being followed, that some horrible creature was about to pounce on him at any moment. He was always looking over his shoulder, so the townsfolk said.
He learned something about the curse.
But not enough to save him. He was found dead by the side of the road, a look of terror on his face. The fisherman was never seen again. Some say he ate some bad offal. Some say he's away on a cruise.
How did Fawkes die? Was it murder?
The report said heart failure, but I saw the photographs. It was fear. He was scared to death.
It was at that moment that I decided to abandon my investigation and leave Quellmouth forever.
And yet you stayed.
I hurried back here to pack my bags, but already I felt that something was pursuing me. I saw shadows moving at the edge of vision, heard whispers I couldn't quite make out, felt warm breath on my neck.
It occurred to you that these were the effects of the curse.
I know what you're thinking. Miss Perch's story had affected me. The power of suggestion was all psychosomatic, all in my mind. I thought so too, even so. The sense of oppression, the feeling of being chased was as real as anything could be, and I knew I would not free myself from it by running away. I had to know more about this dead man.
You investigated him.
A short obituary in the papers, hardly any details. The whole town had clammed up just like the old parson. So I wandered the graveyard. Finally, I found a headstone. Lawrence Sebastian Fawkes, dead less than a year. The night was quiet, thick as the local stew, and to my mind as full of unidentifiable atrocities. What happened to you, Mr. Fawkes? What did you learn? What was chasing you? Is the curse real? Or does it cover some more horrid truth? What was it that killed you? Was it something sordid and mundane? Or are you really the last victim of the Quellmouth curse? But of course there was no answer. No answer except a rustling in the trees. Nothing but a stray cat. A twisted silhouette in an archway. Nothing but my strange urchin friend.
Don't mind me.
A hot breeze passing by soon revealed to be the pure vocal stylings of Samantha Waits.
If we were village kids, village kids, village kids, village kids, there'd be just one bus a day each way from me to you, from me to you, from me to you. The ringing in your ears, the pressure in your head, it only goes in dreams or when you're lying in my bed. So get here anyway, anyway, anyway you can. If we were deaf and blind, deaf and blind, deaf and blind, deaf and blind, you would be my ears and I would be your eyes, me your eyes, me your eyes, me your eyes. The ringing in your ears, that pressure in your head, it only goes in dreams or when you lie in my bed. So get here anyway, anyway, anyway you can.
And so you returned here.
I ran upstairs and hid under my covers like a child.
You felt helpless, waiting for your final, terrible visitor.
Yes, exactly. And still as though something was just behind me at all times.
But there was nothing.
Not at first, but after some time, maybe hours, I felt certain that something was there in the room with me. I was sure that some demon was standing over me, reaching out its hot and hairy hand. But the conviction passed, and I became aware that the thing with which I shared the room was not an evil, malevolent creature, but something sad and lost and alone. A spirit adrift. I called out. Is someone there? Some ghost or wandering soul caught between worlds?
Yup, that's me, hello. Once a mild-mannered, bespectacled university professor meticulously documenting the minutiae of historical rural folklore, infected with a merciless and abominable curse and persecuted to an untimely end here in Quellmouth, only to slip silently from my tomb of nights and roam the countryside in restless roaming rovings. A little bit about me there, in case you were wondering.
Can it be the ghost of old Mr. Fox?
Bit rude, wasn't that terribly old, but yep, Ghost of Fox!
But why have you appeared to me?
Come to warn you about the Quellmouth curse, the persistent and relentless nature of the Quellmouth curse.
But I've given up on that. I wish I'd never even heard of it.
Oh yeah, we all wish you had never heard of it, but once you've heard of it, you've heard of it. And once you heard how the last one what had it, got it, then you got it. That's how the curse got passed on.
Passed on? You
Yup,
mean...
yup. I got it from an enormous fisherman, and being naturally reclusive, kept it to myself and was killed by it. Then Perch comes investigating and learned how I got it. So the curse went on to her. Then she tells you her story, and the curse is on you, setting her free.
That's a way to make it stop, to tell the story of how you acquired the curse.
Yup, that clears it right up.
And now you have told that story.
I have, and I make no apology.
None is required. You are relieved of a burden.
And the burden is now on you, Doctor.
But I feel no such burden.
In a week, tell me you don't feel it.
That brings me to a little matter of business. I recommend that we continue these little sessions of ours for as long as you remain in this part of the world.
That won't be long, Doctor. I plan to be Spitsville immediately and leave this place far behind.
But when I heard this tale from the doctor, he was not so in a calm state of his mind. His eyes were wild. He was as if he was being hunted.
But you say this is a true story. If that were so, and you heard the doctor tell his story, then you yourself would be the next victim of the curse.
Not so, my dear Kent, for you have heard my tale. And even now I feel the shadow pass from me as the evil eye of the demon that follows me turns on you.
A fine thing then, Yak-Jack, that I am a level-headed man and know these fictions for what they are. After-dinner entertainment.
And so the evening was spent pleasantly. And it was only as Elmore Kent strolled home later that night that he began to see shadows moving in the corner of his vision, whispers at the edge of hearing, and feel a hot breath when nothing was there. A week or two of this frayed his nerves and brought him at last to my door. He told me his story, just as I have related it, dear listeners, to you. Now, if you feel that you are not alone when you're walking at night, if you feel that something is pursuing you and cannot be stopped, if your luck turns sour and your nerves will not stand still, there is only one thing that will cure you. So tell your friends about the unseen hour. We hope that you were affected by The Unseen Hour, Episode 7, Victims of the Quellmouth Curse. It was recorded live at the Rosemary Branch Theatre in London by Andy Goddard. It was performed with precision by Deborah Pearson, Joey Timmins, and James Carney, and featured a monologue written by Nic Lamont and performed by Edward Cartwright. The musical guest was Samantha Waits. Theme music by The Unrecorded. The Unseen Hour is created, written, and produced by James Carney, and the podcast is produced rapidly by Andy Goddard. It was brought to the Rosemary branch by Unattended Items. You can find The Unseen Hour in many dark corners of the internet. We all look forward to seeing you here again at The Unseen Hour.